Um, wow, I got to go back in my mind and think about the mistakes of leaders. Well, there's a basic rule of leadership, which is never give power to anyone who is seeking power,
Mhm.
because that's the wrong motivation for doing something. We those The kings that were the best kings in history were the kings that never wanted to be the king.
Mhm.
It's throughout history. It's true. The people who took on the responsibility as a responsibility were the best people, but those were the people who understood how difficult it was and never wanted it in the first place. And so, in general, we want to give power and control to the people who least want it, because they will be most careful with it.
Mhm.
Whereas when people tend to think that they know what the right thing is to do, very often they make mistakes. It goes back to this Steve Jobs quote about I don't employ experts to tell them what to do. I employ experts to tell me what to do. Yeah, which
Mhm.
is, the, the role of a leader is not to dictate to people what they must do. It's to bring together the greatest minds to find the best solutions to life's problems, which are inevitably complex. Which is another failing of democracy, is the focus on leadership, because it's not the leader that's going to solve the problems. It's the people that the leader surrounds themselves with that are going to solve the problems. And um, yeah, as we see in modern governments, there's a lot of power struggle about surrounding people, and governments inevitably become overpopulated with people looking for too much power, and they they tend to fall apart because people stop actually working um, and understanding what is necessary, and they tend to think that there's sort of this illusion in the modern world of we have infinite resources and we can do everything forever, and we we can't really, because we ourselves are not infinite. So we have to realize our own failings um, in in that respect. You'll find a lot of people investing a lot of money in crazy ways to try to stay alive as long as possible, which defeats the purpose. Yeah, I understand that people want to stay alive as long as possible. I understand that principle. And if you're doing good things and helping people, it makes sense. Yet it also does suggest a fear of letting go of the things that we need to let go of. I watched a bit of a cartoon the other day. Uh, it was
Which
called
one?
it was called The Pilgrim's Progress, and this was originally a book written about 300 to 400 years ago. Um, and what it was a codification of the Christian principles from the Bible, and the person who wrote it was put in prison because you can't make the Bible popular for the masses of people, and a lot of bad things happen to good people in history, unfortunately. And so, so the Pilgrim's Progress it's a story about one man's journey to learn about how to do good things and the right thing. And part of part of the story at the end of the story is this person realizes that they have to be comfortable with death
Mhm.
because it's part of an an understanding about what we mean and how we live, because we know that it's a hard topic, but we know that if we don't look after ourselves, death comes sooner to us. In general, in
Mhm.
general, there's there's no rule, and life is not fair a lot of the time. As I said, bad things happen to good people, um, and and we also talked about before about, I think, the the principle that if you flip a coin, right, right, there's
Yeah.
it's 50-50 every time.
Every time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's really hard for people to wrap their heads around, that there's always that it doesn't change. So and I was watching it with my kids, and it was interesting that final part of the story, and it was in the cartoon form because I I found a version of it on the internet and downloaded it, and I wanted to try to include as many of the Christian ideas and principles as possible during this period of time, because I want them to focus on the right elements of, because society is pushing
About.
a non-religious event, which,
And if you present it as a religion, you are excluding. Mm.
yeah, and look,
Mhm.
any person with a brain realizes that exclusion is necessary for survival in all areas. Like I exclude other people from my flat, right? My flat is for my family. It's not for everybody's family, right?
Sorry for the laugh. Yes. Yes, it is. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, exclusion is and when we realize that most of the time in most places I mean that we are excluding people. I mean that's it exclusive people, and the people understand the benefits of exclusivity, right? I mean, when you're in a relationship with a person, you are exclusive to that
Exclusive
person.
person. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and for people, oh, you have to be inclusive and include everybody. No, you don't. That's a very silly idea. So we don't, right? Because yeah, I mean, don't exclude people. I get that, right? It's like, if, but let's be sensible about it, right? You're not gonna have a Division 3 football player in a Division 1 team because it's not the right place for them to be. They're not at that level yet. So society and culture tends to include people when they're ready. Oh, that's another
Mhm.
point to understand. Yeah, is shit happens when you're ready for it, right? It happens when you're ready. There's a lot of people like, why hasn't this happened to me? Well, you're not ready. You haven't done the preparation. But I'm ready for it. But if
That's it.
if something hasn't happened in general, it's because the preparation hasn't been done correctly. And the preparation is always the key element for everything, because as I mentioned, sort of death a little while ago, life is actually preparation for death.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean we should, you know, focus on that element, but it's understanding that like stars, we leave a path or a trail, and um, others will follow. whether we like it or not, others will follow us. We all follow something. Just as we all follow something, something follows us in general. So that's why choosing the right path is important, because others will follow our path. If we choose the wrong path, others will follow the wrong path, because people will follow us. And it's interesting in the Pilgrim's Progress story, because the character is always asking, which path should I follow? And the answer is always the same. You follow the straight path.
The straight path. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's always saying, which path should I follow? And everybody says the same things. Don't look too much to the left. Don't look too much to the right. There are no shortcuts, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are no shortcuts. Just go straight. That's the path. Which way should I go? Go straight. And there's a lot of sense in that naturally. And we, in general, we can't live a happy life unless we understand that we need exclusivity within our lives. Because every moment is a choice between 100 different things that we could do. Like walk down a street, there's 100 shops. You go into any one of them, right? Yeah. Go to a party. Maybe there's 20 people. You could talk to any one of them. Yeah. So every time we choose to do something, we choose to not do something at the same time. Every time we choose to talk to one person, it's a choice not to talk to somebody else. So we have to be exclusive with our time, and any of those things that society generally teaches us or we hear repeated are usually bullshit. You know, we have to be all inclusive. Yeah, we just kind of have to be nice, right? Like, I'd rather somebody was nice to me by pointing out the fact that I don't belong somewhere.
Yeah.
than allowing me into something that is not right for me or that I'm not ready for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd like to make that decision myself, but I also understand that other people can make this decision better than me sometimes. That's why we go to other people and we say, hey, what about this? Do you think this is good or that is good? Is this right or is that right? We go to people who have a track record of success with making things work. There's too many people listening to too many people who have not been successful in the area that they're giving advice or guidance about. Yeah.
True.
It's at the same time we all know something, so we can all contribute something, but we have to again realize that some people's opinions are going to be more important than other people's opinions because they've had more experience, or just they've had more success.
Or how do you choose? How do we? I don't want to use the word judge, but how do you come into a conclusion that this person has been successful on something? So therefore, you go and ask this person about their opinion.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you just ask them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you just ask. I mean, it's a fool can still make the right decision. It's crazy, but it's true. Yeah. The question is, how do you judge success? I think you have to look at the long-term picture and look for someone who has repeatedly done something. And when someone has, anybody can do anything once and get lucky. That's the nature of the world. But look at people who have shown consistently that they can be successful with whatever it is that they're doing. And the challenge of success over time is is a key element. That you people don't survive if they're not able to adapt. And success over time is a mixture of survival through adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also sticking to what you know as well and understanding what you know. So yeah, I find that question difficult because I know that there are people that I don't want to take advice from, but I know their advice is good. That's a difficult one personally for me. Okay, let me give you.
True. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. Now I want to know more. Why
Okay,
don't you want to take advice? Who?
because
And who are these?
okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a simple example. It would be my mother. Okay, so I have a pretty
Yes.
negative relationship with my mother, but that doesn't mean my mother doesn't give good advice about some things. I, not because she not because she really knows what she's talking about, just because she's you you can you can still be a parrot and be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, but true. Um, so I would never go to my mother and ask her for advice, but that's actually negative because she could actually provide some good advice about some things. But my point of contention is I don't want to travel down the same road that she traveled, and so the crazy thing is I would rather listen to her words from somebody else than from her because it's not about the words. It's about how much belief you invest in the meaning of those words. Um, it goes with the principle. Sometimes the less we know about people, the better it is.
The
Sometimes.
less we know about the people. Mm.
Yeah, because there's that element that too much information can be harmful at certain points in time. Um, so and it can all information affects our perspective, and we're not always able to to make the right judgments personally about whether the information is correct or whether the perspective is correct. It's it's understanding that you want car advice from the mechanic, health advice from the doctor, um, fitness advice from the fitness instructor or whatever. It's understanding, which ask the fisherman which fish to buy because they're but you're not gonna ask him about something else, right? There's this
Mm-hmm.
tendency, this all-encompassing one way is the right way, which is just kind of ridiculous because
And
uh,
kind of excluding, it's like you ask a fisherman about the fish, you do not ask them about which car you should buy.
mhm.
You exclude. It's like
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those great arts. The great art is realizing I can ask this person about this, but nothing else,
Mm-hmm.
because be- because it's very very hard to find in the modern world what we call a Renaissance person. Originally they were called Renaissance men, like the Leonardo da Vinci's, who were great at everything that they tried. Or maybe not, maybe great is not the term. They just experimented and persevered and used their creativity and understood the world. And we call these Renaissance people are so niched, which is okay because the modern world is like little niches. They've got everyone's got their little area. Like you don't want the bass player to play the drums, right? Because shit's gonna get fucked up, right? You want to, in general.
You're fully practicing on both.
Yes, well there you go. There you go. Great musicians do. They're able to play the bass and the drums and like the Phil Collins, right? If you've ever, listen, like was able to drums, sing, guitar, bass, whatever. He could do it all. But there's very few people who are like that. Prince was another like multi-talented musician. So there's very few people like that though.
And you see yourself like a Renaissance man?
No, I see myself as wishing that I was a Renaissance man.
Wishing.
because those who are interested in knowledge understand how much they have run away from. Because that's why they're interested in knowledge. And those who are interested in collecting information, in general, it's because they understand how much they've missed already. So those that are interested in recording the details of things tend to realize that there's so much they've missed already, and they don't want to miss any more of it. That's my perspective on it, which is, I think that those that attempt to record reality realize the importance of all of the moments of things happening. Look, take the example, if you're a musician and you're only recording little bits of your work, pointless. You have to record everything, because you have to record everything you do. Every time you pick up your instrument, you got to press record, right?
Yeah, got you. Never know. Sometimes you jam something really good. I was like, and after an hour, you do not know what it was.
Yeah, and you've also got no reference whether or not it is actually really good, because maybe you think it's really good, but it's not. But maybe it is. But if you don't record it, you don't have that feedback, and that feedback is how you grow, and that feedback is how you learn to decide which direction to go in. The more feedback you have, the more you can correct your direction and improve certain things, and that's what happens when you record stuff. Is like you realize the things that you thought were good or maybe not so good is like, my rhythm was really good there, and it's like maybe it wasn't. Yeah. So the only way to be sure, I mean, that's where the knowledge of the modern world was built. People decided to create encyclopedias of knowledge and information because perhaps the first one was maybe the Bible. Something important happened. We need a record of it. Okay, let's take these different stories about the original story and let's put them together and let's create a record of it. And this is how we then built the next step and the next step and the next step. And if we're not leaving a trace behind, and life is so fleeting. And here's something connected with that. So on Instagram, I follow certain hashtags and for different reasons. And one of the hashtags I follow is, I think it's abandoned places. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And what this is it's basically just pictures of old buildings and old houses and old castles and stuff that was essential and important, and a lot of hard work and effort and energy and focus went into.
Mhm.
Now it doesn't mean
And what
anything.
happened now?
Yeah, we
Not,
don't.
not anything.
There's like I saw like I was looking at it yesterday, and there was a train on a bridge. It was like an
Mhm.
old train that was parked on an old bridge, and it was all overgrown with trees and plants and stuff. And obviously they don't use the bridge anymore. There's a train on a bridge in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, wow. Or the castles.
Who would park the
Yeah,
bridge
yeah,
on the bridge on a
yeah.
train on a bridge and then walk away?
Yeah, yeah. What would it's like the story or the castles. Just you search for
Mhm.
abandoned castles, and there's thousands of these.
Mhm.
People spent their lives building these amazing, beautiful buildings, and now
Mhm.
they're all empty and nobody lives in them. But at one point in time, they were they were essential to somebody somewhere. It was the ultimate focus for people's time and energy and attention. And for me, it's the realization of how transitory everything is. And I think that I think that it's important for people to keep a record of what's happening because, as you said, we don't you don't know, or it's very hard to tell at the moment in time when something is happening if that thing is genius or madness or both. We just you don't know. It's what makes a great song. It's that spark of inspiration, that moment that creates
Mhm.
it. Something that never existed before suddenly exists, which is why I love the VR art, which
Mhm.
is which is like my kids put on this headset and they can be anywhere and they can like my daughter like created this campfire in this forest picture, and after she created it I could walk around and through her piece of
You
art.
could.
Yeah. What I can also do is I can also save it and upload it to the internet, and then I can use my phone. I can put it onto my phone, and I can like look around it through my phone, and then I put it on my. I think yesterday I put it on my Facebook feed. So if you go into my Facebook feed and scroll down, there's like Zora's art, um,
Mhm.
uh, which is it's really really interesting to see into the imagination of children and the limitlessness of my daughter. Just like I thought the picture was finished, and I said, "Oh, are you finished?" Because you got the trees and the fire and the logs to sit on around the fire and everything. And she said, "No, no, I have to do the sky." It's just like I wouldn't have thought that there needed to be a. And so she had to. First of all, she painted black, and then she put stars onto the uh,
Mhm.
onto the blackness,
Mhm.
and because it's also interactive, three-dimensional sort of graphic art. It comes to life as well. So the stars
Mhm.
actually sparkle and things.
Sparkle.
So uh, so it's and that to understand to think that there was nothing and then there was
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
and then and now it's as if there was nothing because it doesn't the world that she sees is not the world that we see. And that is an analogy for how everything works. Like the world that we see is completely different from the world that anyone else sees. Completely
Mhm.
different. Yeah, even down to little things like the colors of things. Everyone's why do some people
See.
like some colors better than other colors? Well, everyone's slightly different, and everyone sees the colors
Different.
slightly
Mhm.
differently. Some people's red is more red than other people's red, and wow. So the fact that people can come together and create great things is always fascinating when that's why it's really important to be able to explain your vision to people. Companies understand this, but people tend to forget it. You know, did when people, I think people don't talk enough about how they would like things to be, or how they
Uh-huh.
would like things to be better. A lot of people are very, I don't know if they're afraid or satisfied. I don't know what it is, but they just, things are the way they are, and they want to leave it like that. But a lot of the great things in life are built through change and changes over time, and